Hi, welcome back. Every time I start a video with welcome back, I always think of that one TikTok audio that's like, welcome back to me screaming. And I want to say that, but I feel like no one is going to understand it. Or it's not going to make much sense, or just even if you get it, like it's not that funny. But it plays in my head every time I start a video. So basically, my new favorite content creator, her name's Meg. She did a video exactly like this. That video is inspired this video 100%. This is like completely from that idea. When I watched it, I realized like a lot of similarities in her career and college paths. Listening to her talk about her experience in college and careers made me feel a lot less alone in my experience in college and careers, and I wanted to talk about that since I think I'm at a stable point now. I'd like to say I'm at a stable point now with my career and finished with college. Hopefully I can help someone else feel less alone or more understood, or even help you on your path. So I'm gonna do a get ready with me while I talk about that. This claw clip is from Target. I love her. I originally didn't want this kind of style. I wanted one of the like matte ones, but Target didn't have one, and I was like set on getting one the day that I went, so I got that one. Okay, what does my hair hate me? I want to cover everything: job, career, school starting at college, internships, every job I've had. Sounds right. My very first job was right after I turned 16, and I worked at Sonic. And yes, I did occasionally roller skate, but not that often. That's like the top question I always get when I tell people that I worked at Sonic in high school, is if I did roller skate. I wasn't that great at it, so I didn't do it very often because it kind of made me slower. But it was fun to try. And I had some coworkers that were actually like really good at it. I got that job like right after I turned 16, and honestly, that was probably the best first job I could have asked for, because I was on a dance team at school and outside of school. So I did not have a ton of free time to just work. My manager was really understanding about that. He was really understanding about if I had to ask off for like competitions or anything like that. And he hired a bunch of my friends. I was like, hey, my friend so-and-so needs a job. And he was like, okay, is she a good worker? And I was like, yep. And he was like, okay, she starts whenever. That happened like 8 times. So basically at one point, the whole Sonic crew at night and weekends was my friends. That's my advice to anyone in high school looking for a first job is, if you can find one that is willing to work with your schedule and understand that you're a student and you have extracurricular activities, hold on to that. Because 2 of my friends actually did leave Sonic at one point when a Cane's opened across the street. They thought that would be like a cooler experience. They ended up getting fired because they didn't show up to a lot of their shifts because they got scheduled during important things, and went right back to Sonic. I worked at that Sonic literally right after I turned 16. Up until the night before I left for college. My last shift was a Sunday night, and I moved into my dorm that Monday morning. On to school. My college experience, not super typical, but honestly, I think there's more people out there than you would think that are like transfer students and that kind of stuff. I wanted to go to school in state. I live in Arizona. I wanted to be close enough to home, I guess. I wanted to be in state, but I did not want to stay at home. I wanted to move into the dorm and have the college experience. My choices were basically University of Arizona and Grand Canyon University because I lived pretty close to Arizona State University, and my mom told me if I went there then I would just be a commuter student. I did not want to commute. So I ended up choosing Grand Canyon University, and that personally was a really bad idea for me. But I don't want to like deter anyone. This is all personal experience. Some people did have good experiences. I don't know if I'd recommend GCU to everyone or anyone, but if you really like it, like they have like good nursing programs and stuff. Don't let me deter you, because I have my own personal hangups about that place. The biggest one being my own personal stuff. Like it had nothing to do with the school. What did have to do with the school was just like my scheduling and classes. I originally applied as health sciences because I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist. I was inspired by a dance teacher who was going to be a physical therapist. And then before I even started school, I was like, I hate physical contact with strangers. I can't be a physical therapist. So then I changed to psychology because I was really interested in that. I took AP Psych in high school, and I thought that I would want to go into that. But when I got there, they had, I don't know if they still do this program. I think it was newish or something. I'm not sure. But basically, they had someone from the school like come talk to me, and she made my schedule for me, which usually in college you're going to make your own class schedules. She did it for me, and while I like appreciate them trying to make that easier on students, she did not talk to me about what I wanted or needed. I would have much preferred like Tuesday, Thursday classes starting at 8 a.m. and just all in a row, just knock them out. But what she did was, I had one class that was like 8 a.m. on Tuesday, Thursday, one class that was like noon on Tuesday, Thursday, one class that was like 4 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then one online class. And then also, it turns out that 8 a.m. on Tuesday, Thursday wasn't a class I was supposed to be in. It was only for like upperclassmen. They were basically writing like final theses in that class, and when I went in, the teacher was like, yeah, I don't think you were supposed to be in here. Like, I don't even know how you got in here. I had to transfer out of that class. And the only other open class for me was an online class. I ended up only having 2 in-person classes, which was already not good for an introvert who's not that great at making friends. I had a few friends that I knew from high school that went there, but they were not really anyone I was super close to. And we didn't have enough of the same interests to really, like, bank on being besties with that. For one, yeah. Well, I auditioned. I was going to do a double major. I was going to be a dance and psychology major. But I ended up... Their dance is very modern. Modern is my least favorite style of dance. So then I was going to be a dance minor, but then that didn't work out because the one class that I got put in was dance, was the senior class that I wasn't supposed to be in. Me being a dance minor just didn't even work out there. I also had a really weird roommate situation. It wasn't that awful. Like, that could be its own story time, so I'm not going to get into that, but I didn't have the greatest roommate situation. It just kind of like worsened that scenario. I had been very busy in high school, and that's kind of how I've always had poor mental health, but in high school, that's how I ran away from my mental health problems, was I just kept myself busy. If I wasn't at dance, I was at work. If I wasn't at work, I was at school. If I wasn't at school, I was with my friends. And I went from that to having no friends, not being in dance, not having a job. It was really difficult to get a job on campus as a freshman at GCU, just because they wanted their freshmen to like focus on classes and stuff. It was not a great part of Phoenix that GCU was in, so I couldn't really find a job off campus. So I went to doing nothing, and I finally had to face the fact that I had had mental health problems my entire life and never addressed them. So they all kind of hit me really hard then and there. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I like had to leave GCU, is just because I just couldn't handle college at that moment. But I also couldn't quit because my parents are very strict, and they were kind of like, you're going to college and you are going to be in college until you graduate college, no breaks. So I really wanted to take a gap year or something. My mom was very against that, so I ended up going to a community college that's like 5 minutes from my house. I actually got to go there for free, so you might be like, why didn't you go there immediately? Because my mom worked in the school system and I was able to get free classes. I just had a lot of hang-ups on that though. I'd spent a lot of my school years like in the shadow of my smarter friends, and not that I wasn't smart, I got really good grades and everything, but I spent a lot of like time comparing myself. So when I was deciding to go to college, I was like, I'm going straight to university, I'm not going to community college, that looks like a failure. There's nothing wrong with community college. You get an education, it's a lot cheaper, you save a lot of money. The only thing is you don't get, like, the college experience. And I already wasn't getting that at GCU, so, like, what was my hang-up at that point? I had no reason to not. I did have, I had an adult in my life that I valued their opinion at that time quite a bit tell me that by transferring from university to community college, it looked like I failed, and I admitted I failed. I just think it looked like I was making the right move for my mental health. Actually, I think I'm really glad I didn't finish out at GCU. Because while I was there, I was also able to get a job nearby my house. I started working at Panera. That's a fun situation. Actually, that job was from hell. I worked there for 1.5 years, and the first year was like amazing. I loved it there. I became a trainer. I loved my managers, most of my managers. And then in the last 6 months, this is so much. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. Scheduling manager left. General manager had to start making the schedules. He wasn't very good at it. He relied on me a lot, so he started scheduling me 40 hours a week of opening shifts. And I could not do that while I was in school, but I was like, it's okay, like, they'll figure it out. And then he left. The one manager that I didn't like became our new general manager, and she tortured me. Honestly. I hated being registered. As you know, I'm an introvert. I'm not a people person. I loved anything in the, sorry, hold on. I loved anything that had to do with like being in the back, but she was always putting me at register, opening shifts. I would be crying about how like I was working too many hours and I couldn't handle doing school and working, and she would just kind of tell me to suck it up until eventually it got like so bad. They hired a new scheduling manager who also didn't like me. I think that was partially the general manager's doing. He forgot to schedule me one week, forgot, I still don't know. And I said, all right, then I'm not coming back. And that was the end of that job. While I was at that job, though, I did start YouTube, and I do count that as a job. It took me about a year before I started getting paid. And although I don't make enough to consider it like a career or just do YouTube, I do make enough that I have to put it on my taxes. So I do consider it a job, and I'm really thankful. It is my favorite job I've ever had. I absolutely love doing YouTube, and I want to continue doing YouTube even if I never get paid enough from it. Just because, I don't know, it's super fun. It's given me like it's come with a lot of skills like camera and editing, and just brought me a lot of interest and friends. So I'm really glad that I started YouTube. While I was at my community college, that is also when I decided that I was going to be switching majors. I decided to go to ASU, which meant I'd be commuting, but at least, you know, then I was going to go to university. I kind of looked on their website at like all their majors and like jobs that you can do for majors and stuff, and I decided that I was going to be a journalism and mass communication major. The full title of that is Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. It's up in the Phoenix campus, not the like Tempe campus that most people think of, so I didn't go to the party school of ASU, I went to the other one. I spent my last 2 years of college there. Well, 2.5-ish. I took one extra semester over the summer just because I was kind of behind after switching my major. And then shortly after quitting Panera, I got hired at the job that my last day is this week, actually. I technically am a Starbucks barista, and I technically work for Target. I really didn't want to work at Target for whatever reason. I don't know. I was like against retail, but they really needed people in their Starbucks. So also technically, yes, if you work at a Starbucks inside of a Target, you are employed by Target, but you have to follow Starbucks standards, if you're ever curious about that. But they really needed people in their Starbucks. I had food experience, so they reached out after I applied, and I was like, okay, sure, like why not? I'll go to this interview. And they ended up offering me a really good pay for like a college student, you know. I did not realize Target pays really well, so I took it, and I'm really glad I did. I started working there August 2019, so it'll almost be 3 years by the time that I leave. I met my best friend Maddie there. I met my boyfriend there. It's just been like a pretty good job. Like there's very few downfalls, and there's the downfalls that you run into while working in food and retail, you know. If you were thinking of doing journalism, anything in sort of mass communication, they have a really good PR program. Anything they cover, I would 100% recommend that you look into it, but it is a very difficult program. You have to keep up a good GPA. A lot of the classes are really hard. Some of the required courses are insanely difficult, but you come out with some really good skills and meeting a lot of really cool people, so I'm really glad that I went there. Yeah, while I was there, that's when I started getting paid from YouTube. That's when I was working at the Target Starbucks. And then I had 2 internships, so I'll get into that. My first internship, you are required to do at least one to graduate from that school. Also, the way I got it was so easy. They're great. They require you to do an internship, but they're really good about setting it up. Like, basically, I just reached out to the person who was head of internships, and I was like, hey, I need one this semester. And he was like, all right. And then he was like, okay, at Times Media Group, they need a social media intern. Are you interested in that? I said, heck yeah, I love social media. He gave me the number of the person I would interview under and was like, here you go, your interview is this date and time, whatever. I talked to her. I told her about like how I really was interested in social media, and I became their social media intern. I think they actually had a few because Times Media Group is a very large company. They have like a lot of different papers and websites and all that stuff. So what I did was I posted to the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook of 4 different of their smaller like papers. That was really fun. I think it was interesting to do that. I'm really glad I got to do that as my internship. Looks good on a resume when you're going into what I wanted to go into. I also, oh my gosh, if you go, I must warn you, the hardest class that you are going to take at Cronkite is news writing, because you have to get published. Even if you're not interested in becoming a news reporter, you have to get published with actual papers. horrifying experience, but also looks really good on a resume and is like a really good experience to have, because you're literally writing real articles and you literally have to go to real editors and be like, I need you to publish me, and they have to like dig into your paper to make sure it's good enough to publish. And then my second internship isn't really an internship, I just describe it like that to most people, because Cronkite has this thing called a professional program. You also have to do that if you're going to graduate from their school. You have a bunch of different options to choose from. I went into the digital audiences lab, and it runs pretty much like an internship, but also like a class. You're with your professor, but you're doing very much real life things. Like in the digital audiences lab, we were working with actual real companies with actual real budgets, which I appreciated a lot, because sometimes in college when you're just working on like worksheets, or when you're just making like mock projects, it just feels like you're either continuing high school or like you're playing adult. Because these real companies were trusting me to put together an ad campaign, and then I would just send it over to them. They'd be like, sure, looks good. And then they'd give me their actual like credit card, like actual money to put that ad on the actual internet, which was like intimidating, but it was a really good experience. It was really good to put on a resume, and now I can say that I've actually done all of that for a company before. Also, the professor I had was really great. If he's still the digital audience professor, for anyone that wants to go there, definitely recommend his course. So that I took my last semester before I graduated. That was like one of the last things that I did. And he also helped me find a job, sort of. So I was reaching out and like asking him about finding jobs. He was sending me some from the companies that we worked with for my digital audiences lab. I wasn't sure, like a lot of them were based in LA and stuff, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to move. Also, the salary, unfortunately, you gotta make a lot of money to comfortably live in LA, and me not even being sure if I wanted to move out to LA on a salary that would not be great for LA. I ended up having somewhat of a difficult time finding a job just because I turned down the opportunities that came my way, but I also didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to become a reporter. I didn't want to go into news writing. Even though I enjoyed that, like it's very stressful and just not for me. I finished my makeup before I finished the story. That's nice, whatever. I was just really scared of getting stuck in a career path, because while I had my degree and while I was working at Starbucks, my next step would be into my career. I felt confident about where I was then, but every time I was close to like finding a job or trying to figure out what I was doing, I got really scared of becoming stuck. Because if I took my step into my career, it wasn't so easy to just get out of that. I felt like, you know, if I find a good job, like I should stay there and not just abandon ship because I didn't like it that much, if that makes any sense. I don't know what that fear of failure, fear of 9 to 5, I don't know. I graduated August of 2021. So it took me less than a year to figure it out. I also, deep down, always had this hope that by the time I graduated college, my YouTube would have just like taken off to the point where I was like, oh, I don't even need to figure out a career because YouTube. Unfortunately, it did not. But I did realize that I really liked being a social media intern. I really liked working on my own social media. And I really liked the digital audiences lab, which did a lot of like digital advertisement, digital marketing, and social media work. So I applied, oh my gosh, so there was one job, interesting experience. So it was for a social media marketer, social media assistant was the title of it. And it was posted under this small moving company. The title was like posted under a small local moving company. I applied, I got an interview. I was really excited about it. I was like looking up the history of this company, figuring everything out. And then they didn't call me when the interview started, but they had left a number. So I waited like 15 minutes and then I called the number and the guy was like, oh, I totally like forgot about it. But I was like, oh, like no worries. And he was like, are you free right now still? And I was like, yes. And then it turns out it was actually for his wife, who was a social media content creator, and she needed an assistant, but he accidentally posted it under his company's Indeed page. So this whole time I thought I was like applying to help the social media of that company when it was someone's personal social media. And I was like, well, actually, I'm still really interested in that. Like, I love working in social media of all kinds. I still would like to help your wife, but I think that didn't help. I think that went off on the wrong foot. So I didn't end up getting that. That kind of felt disheartening because there wasn't a whole lot of jobs, especially in my area, that were social media related like that. But I kept looking, I kept interviewing. I was also running into a lot of issue with experience, which you'd think if I spent 4 years and thousands of dollars getting a degree, that would be the experience that I needed. Unfortunately, no, people wanted job experience too. Eventually, I applied as a marketing assistant position at a local company, and I got an interview there. I was really excited about it because basically the job was helping run the social media pages for this business. I was incredibly hopeful about that. I got a first interview and then I got a second interview. The second interview was in person, and it was with the store owner and then the local store manager. And I think the funniest part of that interview was when the store owner was like, so I found your YouTube, which so many adults told me that, like, so I found your social media, so I found your YouTube page would be something that you'd never want to hear in an interview. But I think it's actually part of the reason that I got that job, because she told me that she really wanted someone with like YouTube experience or something like that, because she'd always been interested in doing longer form videos for the company. So thank you, YouTube, because I think you really helped me get that job. Super thankful. I ended up, yes, I got that job. If you're watching this video now, I'm super excited. This is literally my dream job. Social media marketing. Sorry, my battery died. Hopefully I can make this quick. I got basically my dream job. My dream job has always been, literally since I was 12, to do social media or YouTube. I actually asked my mom when I was 12 if I could have a YouTube channel, and she said no because she was really strict about social media, which is really funny now because I had a lot of social media and phone rules. But the fact that I can do social media for a company, that's like really exciting for me. I also recently had 2 smaller businesses reach out to me and ask for help on their social media, so I'll be helping run 2 smaller business social media accounts, as well as this assistant marketing position job. Super excited to be starting all of that. It took me from August of 2021 until June of 2022 to figure out what I wanted to do and get a job in that, but now I start on Monday. Today's Thursday. Really excited to be going into the career that I really want to do. And it's really funny how like everything hopped up right at once. Like the fact that those 2 smaller companies reached out to me right after I got that interview with the company that I will be working for. If you're just finishing college or you're struggling to figure out what you want to do, just know eventually things will fall into place if you keep looking and trying to figure it out. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know the videos you want to see from me. Let me know if you have any questions or anything down below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Heard you say I'm not the baddest, but you lie. It ain't my fault.